It is how infantile, how banal, how stupid they've become, especially Ed Miliband. I don't know if you've seen this utterly ridiculous video from the Labour Party conference. If you haven't, hide behind the sofa, cover your eyes and cover your ears if you don't have a strong constitution, because it's going to make you want to throw up inside your own face. And to me, this 100% indicates quite where we've fallen in this.
Starmer unexpectedly took a step that put the Labour Party in an extremely dangerous position, threatening its very existence. How did this happen? What led to this crisis? Why did this moment become so chaotic? And what does this mean for the future of British politics? Get ready, because this is an exciting journey that you won't want to miss. You won't believe it, but Starmer and his team have come up with a new genius idea that is simply shocking. They proposed a plan to solve the problem of small vessels by imposing sanctions against human traffickers. David Lammy is proud of this, as if he had just invented the wheel, while Yvette Cooper claims that this will only make life more difficult for criminal gangs, but will not stop them. Last year, more than 36,000 people crossed the English Channel. However, the Labour Party's response boils down to financial warnings. Do Starmer and his team really believe they can punish every human trafficker? The Labour Party is trying to present its sanctions as drastic measures, but in reality, it is just a smokescreen.
Governed by a bunch of stupid, wide-eyed students. Now you know. And this is what's going on. These idiots, these Labour idiots, these ideologues, these naive ideologues, they still see, they've got this old-fashioned idea, all landlords are evil, all bosses are evil and exploitative, and we have to stand up for the rights of the workers. Well, you know, apart from, you know, train drivers and doctors demanding 25% and nurses and all the usual public sector suspects, you know, over the past 10 years or so, have you noticed that much worker unrest? I haven't. That Labour have found a problem that doesn't exist. Most people are completely happy with their work. They go to work, they pick up their salary and they pay their way. That's been just fine. But income Labour, oh no, you're being exploited. We've got to stamp on these evil.
Even if they punish a few people, won't new human traffickers appear? It's like playing hide and seek with national security. Instead of solving the real problem, Starmer and his team just want to look proactive. The British people are tired of half measures and empty promises. They want to see real action, not political performances. The Labour Party's plan is clearly not enough, and voters will not be easily fooled. Without a real solution, all this is empty rhetoric. What about the Labour Party's plan for the Chagos Islands? This seems to be turning into a complete disaster. It all started when Starmer decided that he had won a major diplomatic victory by agreeing to return the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. But the new government of Mauritius has complicated the implementation of the agreement, demanding £800 million and billions in compensation. Under pressure, Keir Starmer hastily offered to pay several years in advance to keep the deal going. But it raised concerns among US officials, including Trump's former national security advisor, about the strategic implications of the agreement, and put Labour in an extremely difficult position.
This has got nothing to do with racism. I'm a black woman. I will be voting for Keir Starmer. He has turned the party round and made it electable again. These people, on this faction on the left, they use colour all the time. It's identity politics. And it's the reason why the Tories always win. Because they know that these useful idiots on the left will use colour every single time they don't get what they want or they're not treated a certain way they want to be treated. Diana Abbott has said things that are very, very toxic, not just about Jews, about other people as well. So whenever people keep coming on the radio and saying, oh, well, this person said that person said that, she's got a track record. As far as I know, these people haven't.
Now the Labour Party is trying to play down the significance of the situation, calling it a minor hitch. But in what world can such a huge amount of money be considered insignificant? A British government source bluntly admitted that these demands were excessive, stressing that there was no bottomless pit with money. That's what happens when promises are made without proper thought. To make matters worse, Donald Trump may step in. His team expressed concern about the strategic influence in the Indian Ocean, especially given the agreement's support by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a Trump ally. Further developments remain questionable, The situation is starting to resemble current events. The Labour Party's proposed plan for immigration to Rwanda is an ambitious project that ultimately never materialised. Now the story of the Chagos Agreement seems to be repeating itself.
Do they think we're stupid? Do they think we're going to fall for this anymore? This is a very narrow focus, only 5 towns out of 50. There's nowhere near enough money to do the job. There's not even enough money to do one town. If you add in inflation compared to what Telford costs, it has no statutory powers. People can't be compelled to give evidence. We don't know who's going to call the witnesses. We don't know who's not going to be called. We might know, we don't know, for example, if people from the past might not be called up because, hey, they were on the cams at the same time. Who's in the inquiry? Does it have any power? Will anybody go to jail? We don't want...
It is unclear why the Labour Party continues to make the same mistakes, offering grandiose plans, ignoring all warnings, and then being surprised when everything collapses. They seem to be living in a political bubble, completely disconnected from reality. Every time the Labour Party fails with an impossible plan, they increasingly lose the trust of the British public. People are no longer so easily deceived by empty promises. They clearly see that a political party cares more about its international image than about solving pressing domestic problems. And it doesn't end there. Starmer remains obsessed with the EU, unable to resist the urge for high-profile international deals while the real domestic problems remain unaddressed. This misplaced priority not only highlights the fallacy of the Labour Party's approach, but it could lead to even more trouble in the future. Ollie Robbins, who once caused a stir by expressing interest in obtaining Belgian citizenship during the Brexit negotiations, has now returned to power.
We want a report that tells us there were shortfalls. We don't want a report saying mistakes must not be repeated. We know this. We know this information. People have got to go to jail. People have got to be punished for what happened, for their shortfalls. And you've got the Tory party and the Labour Party once again today playing tit-for-tat politics. I'm not surprised that survivors are furious. I'm furious. And I think anybody watching this show should feel furious. This feels like yet another whitewash.
This appointment is not only a slap in the face to voters for Brexit, but also a clear signal of the direction in which the party is moving. Keir Starmer wants to take over this job. He surrounds himself with EU supporters like David Lammy, who once compared Brexiteers to those worse than the Nazis. Robbins joining Starmer's team is nothing more than an attempt to bring Britain back into the EU's orbit. Imagine that after Brexit, Britain finally leaves the parental home, and Starmer plays the role of an annoying father who constantly comes in uninvited, bringing leftovers and unnecessary advice. He refuses to give the country a chance to get back on its feet and develop on its own. This can lead to serious problems. Attempts to return to the customs union, stricter rules in accordance with EU standards, or even holding a second referendum. This is the way to destroy all the progress made since 2016. Brexit supporters feel betrayed. John from Sunderland, a loyal Labour voter, shared, "I voted to leave the EU in order to regain control. But Starmer's personnel choice makes me feel that he wants to put everything back in the hands of Brussels. It's a betrayal of everything we fought for."
Listen, my advice to Keir Starmer is to stop being an idiot because, listen, Keir Starmer and half of the cabinet voted against President Trump's state visit last time round. We've got so many of members, David Lammy notably, having carried out vitriolic and ridiculous personal attacks on Donald Trump. They're all now desperately trying to backtrack and they're all desperately trying to suck up to President Trump. You know, at best, they're going to be irrelevant. But at worst, they have done great harm to the UK's national interest. So they've got to grow up, stop playing petty student politics, and actually stand up for the UK, get a free trade agreement, work on ensuring our military and security agreements are robust, and learn the lessons of how Donald Trump is securing their border for a start.
Public opinion polls are alarmingly pointing to growing dissatisfaction with Starmer's leadership. Even among the MPs of the Labour Party, alarm notes are beginning to sound about the possible loss of votes in the regions supporting Brexit. Niall Gardner, a former aide to Margaret Thatcher, openly declares that this may mean that the Labour Party is ready to betray Britain in favour of the EU. And Mark Francois, a Conservative MP, is not shy about calling Robbins the perfect choice for those who want to bring Britain back into the arms of Europe. But what's really causing the most concern is that Starmer seems to be living in a pro-European bubble, completely unaware of the damage he's doing to his own party. With each new appointment of a pro-European figure and every hint of tightening relations with Brussels, he alienates more and more voters. It's not just about Brexit anymore, it's about trust. This is the story of a political party that seems to have forgotten about who it really represents. Labour was once the voice of the working class, but now it looks like the party of the urban elite, more concerned about the opinion of Brussels than the real needs of voters in Barnsley and other cities. This is a betrayal that cannot remain without consequences. See you later.